basic premise here is that we believe that there's an emerging global network of changemakers and an emerging global network of makerspaces. And if you put them together, you and me and we can collectively change the world.
This program was made possible from the support of VSA Texas and AmeriGroup.
Rise up, AmeriGroup.
The following program may contain strong language and brief nudity. But don't get your hopes up. After all, this is Public Access TV.
I'm Gene.
And I'm Dave.
And we're the
Gene and Dave Show.
Well, Dave, another great year at South by Southwest. It was a little bit wet this year, but we had a good time.
But it was fun, man. It was great. Everybody was right out in there in it, and going from place to place, getting soaked. I made for another memorable South by Southwest. And what fun it was, In years past, we haven't been able to find a drink of water anywhere you go, and now it was raining, so there was water everywhere.
Well, let's start off with our first stop.
It's got to be the first place has got to be the word of South by Southwest. The word this year was barbecue, right?
Yeah. They had a barbecue movie show in there, so we had to see it.
Yeah.
But you always like to do a bit of research, do your background research before you go to a movie. So we brought our friend and videographer Brian Miller with us. We ate barbecue at the county line, Stiles Switch, Blacks in Lockhart, Rudy's here in town, Terry Blacks on Barton Springs Road. Then, of course, the next day we had to go back to Terry's. Went to Fogo de Chao just to try a different kind of barbecue there. And then more barbecue. Oh, and then we go to the movie, and they're handing out free barbecue from Blacks before the movie, and then after the movie. And I don't know about you. I had a good time. It was a good movie, but my favorite is Terry Blacks. I got to say that is my go-to barbecue place.
Yeah, that's because you showed up with cameras and they invited you in.
They invited us in. It was a good time, yeah. But they talk about, the film starts in South Africa, and they have something called a braai. And I've been to South Africa at a braai, and I can tell you it's pretty good. And it's Afrikaans for barbecue. And the whole movie's about fire brings people together. So they have a barbecue, people join around, and it's just a big gathering. And what a great way to start off the conference, talking about bringing the community together.
Mm-hmm. Around fire.
Yep. So we had to see that. It had nothing to do with disability. But well,
you still got to eat, right?
You still got to eat.
Everybody's got to eat.
Yeah, you got to eat. So, so we enjoy that. And again, hats off to Terry's Barbecue, Terry Blacks, on Barton Springs Road. We've
got some footage of you going into Terry's, right?
We do, and talking to one of the gentlemen there, talking to Mike, and he explained to us how much briskets they go through. Showed us. Well, here, let me just show you.
Let's check in with Mike.
Mike, thanks for having us here at Terry Blacks BBQ on Barton Springs Road, right across the street from Palmer Event Center. We were over there filming for South by Southwest, and the wonderful aroma of the barbecue just drew us over here. Tell us about your shop here, what you've got going.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. So what we've got behind us is 3,000-gallon decommissioned propane tanks. We've turned these into barbecue pits. They're offset smokers, so it's all indirect heat. So you've got your firebox here to my right. You've got all your wood sources in there. Like I said, that's going to be all the heat. That's post oak wood that we aged between 6 and 12 months. Just depends on what time of the year it's cut, how much water and sap is in the wood. But yeah, it's a really low and slow process. So we start our briskets every morning at 7:30, and they'll go late into the night. Last night they started coming off between 11:30 and 1:30 a.m. So they take a long time.
What else can you show us around here, Mike?
I can show you guys the pits if y'all want to take a look at that.
Let's take a look.
Come on in. Open this bad boy up and show you what they look like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you've got briskets over here. I'll show you this pit right over here. You got briskets over here. And I won't bore you, but we've got more briskets over there. So we do a lot of meat here.
Most of your smoking meat, brisket?
Yep, we mostly smoke brisket. We've also got pork ribs, beef ribs, turkey, sausage. We do that early in the morning.
Man, that is a lot of meat.
It is. It is.
Every day.
And those beef ribs, I mean, huge. It's like Fred Flintstone's. Looks like something he would eat. But it was good stuff. And it was right across from the Palmer Event Center, which was good because the Palmer is where we went to our first event.
Yeah.
Create. They have I guess an exhibit they called Create at South by Southwest, where they have all kind of makers there, designers, engineers, a lot of folks this year with the 3D printers. Now, 3D printers aren't really new, but they've advanced so much every year, and the price keeps coming down, so you can make unique items in your home that otherwise you would have to send off to somewhere, and they would charge you a boatload of money.
Yeah, I remember going back to one of our, South by Southwest, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, where they first had those printers, and they were using them in makers fairs to make design equipment for people with disabilities. Remember, we saw them. They made the teapot.
Yeah.
The gentleman that didn't have any arms.
Right.
He wanted to be able to pour his own tea, and they made a prototype with a 3D printer, and they've come a long way since then. They're so affordable now. Anybody can have one and make your own teapot at home.
Yeah, and there were stories about one gentleman made a prosthetic limb for his son, and then he put the design on the web. So anyone else who has a child that needs a prosthetic limb, or even an older adolescent, they could scale up the design. But they download the design, load it into the 3D printer. They can make a prosthetic.
Yeah, just like downloading a recipe for baking a cake, right? You download the program, you download the schematics for it, you plug it in, tell the printer to print it, boom, you're done.
So, and that's so when Dave and I are out South by Southwest, every exhibit, like the 3D printers, they don't talk about it being used for prosthetics or whatever, but
right,
you and I recognize, we recognize people with disabilities could really use these. So you need something special made. If you look up South by Southwest under Create, you'll find some people's names there. You could contact them. You need something special.
Some of them are even local to Austin.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is great.
Yes, indeed. They had the one event in the Palmer Event Center, changemakers and maker spaces.
The basic premise here is that we believe that there's an emerging global network of changemakers and an emerging global network of maker spaces. And if you put them together, you and me and we can collectively change the world.
Just by gathering all these people that like to make things, using their collective knowledge and experience, give them a few goals of things to make. and it's done.
Make stuff and change the world, right?
Yeah.
Just got to have that passion, that desire to make something.
And some of the things they make may not be useful for a whole huge audience, but for the people that need it,
Right.
what a game changer. Changes their world. So we saw Jonathan Shaw there from eNable. They've got some open source 3D prosthetics for children. There was a Global Volunteer Health Alliance volunteers. There's a gentleman there named Amir from Tom Global, and they put on the 72-hour event in different countries where they get designers and makers together, and then people with disabilities, and the designers have 72 hours to make something that the people with disabilities say they need. And the one you were talking about, the teapot that
Mm-hmm.
the guy with no arms wanted to
Yeah.
use. So
That
there's
was several years ago, but they're hey, you heard it here first on the Gene and Dave show.
That's right.
But now they're picking up momentum, and there's makers fairs all over the place.
And speaking of maker fairs, there's going to be one here in Austin in May.
All right.
At the Palmer Event Center, and Saturday and Sunday, I believe it's the 13th and 14th. So check it out. Put that on your calendar. But these maker spaces are a natural hub for activities that emerge as a global network for humanitarian work, as well as social and commercial entrepreneurism. It's to do good by making. So, Dave, you're a talented guy. I would like to see you there making something.
I'd love to go make something. I've at least got ideas I could give to people about making stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's simple things, like I just want something to be able to open my blinds, or,
Mhm.
things like that. It just, you never know.
Now, also when we were at Create, we saw your friend from a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, yeah. R2D2.
R2D2. Interviewed first on the Gene and Dave
Hey,
show.
there was a couple R2D2s there this time. I think they
Yeah.
cloned R2D2. So, yeah, there was two R2D2s, and he's got part of BB-8 finished.
Mm-hmm.
Still working on BB-8. I guess there's a balancing issue there. And I saw the torso of C-3PO as well. So let's check out and see what R2D2 has to say this year.
Hello, R2, and welcome to South by Southwest 2017. How are you today? Good deal. Good to know you're all oiled and ready to go. R2, we never found out. Where are you from? From Central Texas Droids. All right. Oh, no kidding. You've even got a branch here in Austin, Texas? We'll have to look that up. Central Texas Droids. Good deal. R2, what do you think of the parking and the access around South by Southwest? I feel for you, R2. Well, R2, the most important question we have is, what's your favorite TV show? The Gene and Dave Show, of course. Thank you, R2. Appreciate it. We'll see you later here at Create at the Palmer Event Center at South by Southwest 2017. Same to you. Thank you.
Always my favorite.
Yeah, I love R2. And hats off to Central Texas Droids. They're always there at the Create event at South by Southwest, and encouraging people to to make their own robots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what robots are going to do for us in the future. I just need one to open a can of beer for me, maybe make me a sandwich.
Well, I'm still holding out for the robot attendant that can do my whole morning drill. That's going to be awesome.
That'd be nice. Be there bright and early in the morning.
Right.
And
He'll just turn on and be ready to lift me up out of bed and throw me in the shower and help me get dressed. That's the robot I'm waiting for.
You and me both.
All right.
Yep.
Sorry to all my attendants out there.
Nothing personal. All right, you never know what you're going to see there. We saw inclusive design in an exclusive industry. In this particular presentation, the people were talking about there's no clothes really designed for people with disabilities. Well, I suppose there are. You can find some, but
Yeah, I've had to make my own. I mean, there was no designers that made stuff that, I could get on given my shape of sitting all day. You don't really think about it, but just the way that pants are usually made, they're not made to be sat in all day. So that designers will take the concepts of sitting all day and they'll put more cloth on the backside so that they're shaped that way. They're shaped, the default shape, I guess, is in the sitting position, which really helps with, sores across the waist and pressure sores on the bottom. Just by doing something simple like that, like adding more fabric to the back. It's a simple thing to think about and do, but, normal clothes makers don't do that.
So it makes it more comfortable and it's healthier for you. You have more room to breathe.
Yeah.
In my case, all my long sleeve shirts are too long. I have to have those shortened. But Maria over at Jam Designs, she's done my hat, shirts, vest, pants, everything. So I suppose we could use more people in the design world for people with disabilities, and stuff that's nice to look at, not just your stuff you'd throw on.
Right.
There was a lot at the convention. You can see us wandering around here. I didn't know what some of these things were, like this thing. It looked like clothes stuck on the wall. But I don't know what was up with that. But you were talking about water earlier. We were over at J.P. Morgan, and they had water.
Yeah, I mean, this South by Southwest, there was water everywhere. Last year, we did a bit on that we couldn't find. Well, it wasn't a bit; it was true fact.
Yeah,
it was easier to find free beer than it was water, and sometimes you just need a drink of water. So
yeah, beer, vodka, wine, but
this time they actually had water bottles set up throughout South by Southwest, so that was nice.
Yeah.
But of course, this year it was raining, so
yeah,
water opened up. There was water everywhere. That's right.
Now, one of the vendors we came across during the trade show, as I was saying, every time Dave and I go there, we look at something and say, how could this be used by someone with a disability? Well, they had these home testing by Everwell, and what they do is you go to their webpage, you tell them what kind of testing kits you want, they mail them out to you. You could test yourself for food sensitivity or thyroid, woman's health, a number of different choices, as you can see on the table there. So you get a blood sample to send it back to them, or fill out forms, whatever. But for people with disabilities that have a hard time with transportation,
Right.
going to and from the doctor, sometimes even just getting out of bed is, particularly when you're not feeling well, is a bit of a problem. So I thought this was pretty cool, and I may just try that sometime. And then wandering
the DIY health kit, right?
Yeah.
Do-it-yourself help. Find out
Do-it-yourself.
what's wrong with you without having to leave your house. Now that's convenience.
It is, yeah. And then wandering around, of course, we ran into our friends at Nobility.
Oh yeah.
I know Nobility helped us get set up with our web page. They got us hooked up with Trademark Media. But their whole thing is making the web accessible for everyone. They teach that. They have competitions focused on that. They have a Access U, which I believe you and I will be presenting at this year.
We'll be teaching a class on closed captioning.
Yep. So if you want to learn how to do closed captions on video, just give us a holler.
And I'll also be teaching another class called Everyone is Disabled.
Oh, really? See,
Sometimes.
I did not even know that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing it with one of the people that I work with at Health and Human Services, state of Texas, on accessibility, and he recently was injured while riding his bike. He broke his hip around Christmas time and had to get his hip replaced. So he found out really quick that his house was not accessible, and he had a hard time getting around, and just getting around in general was really hard for him by using a walker and then graduating from the walker to the cane. So he had a whole new appreciation for people with disabilities, and and found out that he could do some things to his house, make it more accommodating for him as he grows older, or as the inevitable happens.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a whole course on that, thinking about things that are used for people with disabilities.
I'd like to see that. That sounds super. So if you want to sign up for Access U,
Just look on the bottom of the screen.
nobility.org. It's in there somewhere.
Or go to thegeneanddaveshow.com, and it will be in our show notes, a direct link.
Yep. So wandering around the floor again, we ran into our old friend Brittany. You remember Brittany from last year, Dave, from
Absolutely.
Able Thrive. Her father got a spinal cord injury, and as a result, she learned a lot of things about adapting things to help her father. And she put up a web page, Able Thrive, so people with spinal cord injuries can send in their videos showing how they do certain things. And she hopes that other people that go to this web page who need help doing those things can learn from that.
Yeah, it's such a valuable thing to have. This day and age with the internet and YouTube videos and just videos in general. Oftentimes I think, man, how do I do that? How do I change the oil in a 1965 Mustang? Well, if you type that in YouTube, you'll go find it. So a lot of times when you have a spinal cord injury, especially when it's new to you and you're trying to figure out how to do things, you want to know how somebody else does it.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect place to go, rather than just typing it into YouTube. This is a place that's specifically designed to show how you do something, or how somebody else does something, and it may benefit you. And if you have something that you do that's routine, I encourage you to film it and put it up there. It's really simple to do. Just upload it like you would to YouTube, or make a link to one of your YouTube videos that you already have, and share that with other people, so that what you do might be able to help them.
And particularly, Dave, I don't know how many injuries there are every year, but every year there's people end up with broken necks or broken backs and end up in rehabilitation. And the occupational therapists, they share as much as they can, but they're still in a rehab setting. They're not in a person's home setting. They don't know all the secrets.
Sure.
So it takes the community to help contribute to that. So we were glad to see Brittany there, and that Able Thrive is going strong.
It's also good to see the equipment that people use. If you're looking for certain things, go to Able Thrive see what somebody else is using to turn their pages on their book or type on their computer.
Exactly. So Brittany also had a presentation, Don't Diss My Ability. And she talked about universal inclusion. And this is the first presentation that I believe you and I went to. Well, we saw someone in a wheelchair there.
Yeah, I was excited about the presentation. Right. I mean, I thought this was a good presentation on disability and made me think about other things. But the thing that made me so excited about the presentation is there was a lift.
There was a lift.
There was a lift.
It's the first year they had the lifts.
There was a lift to get this guy on stage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've seen other where people in chairs just didn't get on stage, or they had to be picked up and hoisted and thrown into a chair.
Well, you remember last year at South by 2016, they had to lift Zach.
Yeah, here's a clip of that of them lifting Zach out of his wheelchair and throwing him in the big. He called it a big grandpa chair.
Yeah.
When he got in there.
And he sank down into it. You could hardly see him.
Yeah, you could just kind of see his head barely peeking up over the table. So they did really good this year by bringing that lift out. Although I heard that they didn't have the lift ready, and when he got there, he had requested it. So they went in the back and found it. I don't know who keeps a lift on wheels laying around, but obviously they do. So credit to the staff of South by Southwest for coming up with that thing and bringing it right out and getting him on the stage. And he's an attorney. This gentleman that was speaking is an attorney. And one of the things I thought was so remarkable about his speech is when he first went in, he talked with his boss, asked him, what kind of reasonable accommodations do you need? This is always a hard subject for me, too. You know, I mean, you don't want to say, well, I need this and this and this and this and start listing off a whole bunch of things.
Right,
you're
afraid they won't hire you.
Right, and even if they've already hired you, you don't want to be, the bad seed. You don't want to be the bad guy. So he said, well, I really don't need anything. I may need my desk raised a little bit so that I can reach my computer. And the boss said, well, that's fine, but what about all the other amenities we have for the employees? We have a gym. What kinds of things do you need in the gym to be able to use it to do your workout?
Wow.
I was like, wow, that is amazing. I didn't think about that. And, of course, he didn't either.
What a
But his
follow-up
employer
question.
was wanted to make sure that he had everything accommodated that he was giving to all of his other employees. So hats off to that guy.
Absolutely.
Of course, it was a law firm, and they had plenty of money to do it. But definitely, think about all the other aspects to, the facilities that you offer all your other employees. Even the break room. Can they get to the refrigerator? Is there space in the refrigerator they can reach? Is the microwave reachable for breaks? Things like that.
Or raising a desk.
Right.
Or using a trackball instead of a mouse. So there's lots of simple things to make the workplace accessible. But yeah, and they talked about he was the key person on some sort of program at his university to make things accessible. But after graduation and getting to work, it sounds like he still had more to learn. So
yeah,
I guess it's a process we're all learning about reasonable accommodations. So after Don't Diss My Ability, I found this great item for you, Dave. It's I was wandering around, and this woman named Amanda caught my eye. She brought me over. She has a uplift desk, and this desk raises or lowers by pressing a button. So you just press a button on the side, it raises. So when you and I are at the Gene and Dave Show International Headquarters,
right,
and we have one desk, we want to take turns using it. Maybe you want it at one height, I want it at another. Go in, just press a button, and it raises or lowers. And you can program the desk too. So let's say I always like it at a particular height.
You like it low, so you'll have the Gene mode.
I like the gene mode, so I just pressed a button for that, and it automatically goes to that preset height.
Right.
And at first I thought, well, if there's only one person using the desk, why not just set the desk on, some blocks or whatever, or shorten the legs? But then I got to thinking, well, there's different activities you might want to do on the table. Maybe eating, you want it at one height. Maybe writing or reading, you want it at another. So I thought this desk was pretty cool.
Yeah, this is another one of those items that you've changed to fit your needs, Gene. I think the discs were originally invented for people that wanted to stand up. That's the big trend in the office these days.
Yeah.
Are standing up for part of your workday so that you're not actually sitting down all day. So the desks will raise up to the standing position, or lower to the seated position, off and on throughout the day. So, but yeah, another invention that was made for a whole different purpose that really works great for people that use wheelchairs or have different types of mobility issues.
Exactly. Yep. So thank you, Amanda, for bringing me over there. Now here's another case of just like we helped South by Southwest Eco when we made them aware of the access needs. I went into this one room the Case Foundation set up, and they had this booth in there. There's a table, I don't know, it's maybe 3 feet across. You stand on that, and a camera goes 360 degrees around you, makes a cool little video. Well, I went in there, and I said, "Where's the ramp?" And they said, "Oh, we don't have one." So I said, "Oh, okay, thanks," and I left.
No ramp?
I know.
Whatever will we do?
Yes. So I left, and a little
You left
while
to go find your attorney?
I need to go find my attorney. And I'm going down the hall, and I hear this voice, "Oh, sir." And this woman, Emily, comes chasing after me. Now, I'm accustomed to women chasing after me. But this
Nothing
time...
new for you, right?
But this time, she says, "You were just over at the Case Foundation, and you couldn't get on because we don't have a ramp, but please come back. Let's see if we can get you on there." And I said, "Well, I don't know. What do you mean get me on there?" And she says, the guys could lift you on to the platform." And I said, with me in the chair, it's like 500, 600 pounds.
Yeah, the batteries alone are 100 pounds on these things.
Yeah.
Right.
But she insisted I come back with her. So I went back to...
You're in that part you're not used to.
Right. So we went back to the Case Foundation setup, and they had something called Get in the Arena in this booth. And they said, we can get you on there. We can lift you on there. So our videographer, Brian, grabbed a hold of one spot of the chair, and they had 4 other guys around the chair, lifted me up onto the platform so they could make this miniature movie here.
They weren't even grunting when they picked you up right there.
Oh, they were grunting, believe me. They were grunting, but it's a nice little movie. But the big thing is I gotta say, the people at the Case Foundation, they all had such a positive attitude. Their thought was, "Oh, we have an issue. Let's take care of it. Let's find a way we can solve this." They never said, "Oh, well, we don't have a ramp, so I guess we can't do it." They said, "We will find a way." So visit the Case Foundation. The people are really forward-thinking, and donate some money to them. And here's what the group looks like: a bunch of happy people there. So we're here at South by Southwest, and I came into a room set up by the Case Foundation. They have something in here called Get in the Arena, and that's where they can do a 360-degree video person. Well, I came in, and they had a little bit of a platform in there, and there was no ramp to it. So I looked in, and I said, "Where's the ramp They said, well, we don't have one. So I said, okay, thanks, and I left. Well, I'm going down the hall, and Emily tracks me down. Says, sir, let's talk about this program we've got at the Case Foundation room. And so Emily suggested they get a bunch of folks to lift me up and put me on the platform. Well, with me in this chair, it's got to weigh close to 500, 600 pounds. But Emily, you really made it a point to try and include me in this program. Why was that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really important to us, inclusion and making sure that everybody, in terms of what you just said, get in the arena. The Case Foundation is all about helping people turn interest into action for social good. And so that includes everybody, and we're really excited that you came into the lounge to begin with. We're excited that you wanted to participate, and so it was up to us to help make that happen. And so we were really just glad to figure out a way to make that work, and we're glad you're here.
Super. Tell us a little bit more about the Case Foundation.
Sure. This foundation started by Jean and Steve Case, and it's all about investing in people and ideas that can change the world. It's our 20th anniversary, and so in honor of that, we're celebrating with this theme of getting in the arena and helping people turn interest into action for social good. And so everything that's curated here at South by Southwest are experiences so people can sort of discover, realize what it is that they're passionate about, and find different avenues to turn that interest into action.
These people really went out of their way to get me involved in it. So I just say something about their spirit, and we love the people at the Case Foundation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm really glad you stopped by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our hats off to Case Foundation. Now that they know what we need, we're changing the world a little bit at a time.
That's right. We'll see if they have a ramp next year.
We also went to the South by Southwest Community Service Awards, formerly called the Dewey Awards. But,
yeah, they changed the name this year.
Mm-hmm. And they started off with a speech about using technology for community services. Dorothy Winburn, Dewey Winburn's wife, Dewey was one of the people instrumental in starting South by Southwest, and Dorothy started talking about her husband and the vision for South by Southwest. But we saw old friends there. We saw Sharon from Nobility,
right.
Sharon Rush, Kathy Keller, of course.
And there's Glenda.
Glenda, yeah. Glenda helped us with our information technology show. She's a friend of the show. George Cummings, a scuba diver buddy of mine. Of course, Aaron, a fellow writer, helped me with some of my writing. But the Community Service Awards recognize people from all over the world that use technology to provide community service. So we always enjoy going there, and the people that attend this, that are in the audience, are of the same mindset. They just want to help people use technology any way they can to do that. So we enjoy that.
Absolutely. And congratulations to all the winners. And thank you all for all that you've done to help.
Dave, mention me. Mention me, Dave.
Oh yeah, didn't you win one of those awards at one point, Gene?
Well, yes, I did, Dave. Thanks. Thank you so much for noticing that. I'm too humble to
Sure.
I'm trying to look humble anyway. But yeah, I did a few years back.
So once you win one, can you win another?
I wonder.
I wonder.
I'm gonna have to do something good again. I don't know if I could do that.
Well, you keep chasing down girls with the Case Foundation. We'll see.
We'll see. Now, there was another presentation, Disasters in Diversity, talking about disability in media. All the folks on the panel had some sort of disability, and they were talking about whether it's movies or books, how disabled people are always portrayed in a certain way, either the villains,
Right.
They look evil with the scar on the face, or like Captain Hook.
Right, always has the hook.
Yeah, and
Pirates always have a patch. They always can only see one eye.
Yeah,
have a peg leg. Something like that, right? All the
Yeah.
evil people have a disability of some sort.
Right. Or it was the other way that the person, say, were to overcome their disability and become a superhero.
Dun, 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 I'm a champion.
Yeah, and they didn't like. Well, I guess their thing was they didn't like to see these repeated modes over and over again. They wanted to see something new. I don't know. You know, I would. Yeah, I would like to see someone with a disability just incorporated into the movie somewhere without even having to tell this background story, how they became disabled.
Right.
They're just there interacting.
And there have been a few examples of that I've seen. Just a few off the top of my head. I remember ER, the television show ER. One of the doctors used crutches to get around. It wasn't, the disability wasn't focused on at all. She was just there and in crutches. I believe it's CSI. You know, one of the techno nerds uses a wheelchair to get around. So you know, there are a few examples like that, and they're gaining momentum.
Yeah,
Obviously enough to have a panel at South by Southwest. Right.
Right.
So what did you learn from this panel, Gene?
Well, I learned what they were saying too is, if there is going to be a person with a disability represented on a TV show or movie, they should hire a disabled actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that's just not realistic. When you and I put our show together, if we want someone with a disability to come too, it's difficult for you and I to make arrangements with transportation and whatnot. But the more people you involve with more needs, it just gets difficult. And I told him you don't hire a doctor to play the part of a doctor. So why do I have to hire someone with a disability to play the part of someone with a disability? And the one guy in the panel said, well, for every able-bodied actor you hire, you take a job away from someone with a disability. I don't think that's true, but
I don't know. As an actor with a disability, I am available. I can be found at thegeneanddaveshow.com. If you want to hire me for your movie, I'm there for you.
And you were in the movie.
I've been in a few movies.
At South by Southwest.
That did not focus on my disability. I was just a character in the movie, so I appreciate.
There was Manglehorn was the last one.
Yeah, Manglehorn, and also Joe that I was in, that didn't focus on me necessarily being in the wheelchair. So hats off to David Gordon Green, the director of both of those films, who invited me in and you had me be in both of his films.
No, this is talent right here, folks. Hire Dave. But they mentioned the movie too, Me Before You. It's about some guy who became a quad, and I don't want to ruin the movie for everyone out there, but I thought it was a beautiful love story. They all thought, none of them seemed to care for the movie. So their opinion's wrong, mine is right. So
I don't know. I'll disagree with you too.
Even my co-host won't cut me any slack.
Nah, I'm not going to cut you any slack.
So anyway, they talked about stereotypes, and it was interesting. Gene Rogers, I have a TV show here in Austin. First of all, I love the movie Me Before You. Also, there's plenty of reasons why we don't have people with disabilities in shows or movies play someone with a disability. A lot of it has to do with logistics. But still, I can understand your point, but I know a lot of people in this disability community were against the movie Me Before You, and they never saw it. But I would say for people with disabilities, take a look at it. It's a wonderful love story.
I would say people need to see it. I think they should see it before they voice their opinion. I think the concern over Me Before You is that if you, again, look at history, and I'm a bit of a historian when it comes to this, there have been 35 films since 1915 where folks with disabilities killed themselves. 35 movies. Now, you can pick any other identity group that you want, right? You're not seeing those same kind of numbers. The question, to my mind, is what type of stories get told, what is normalized, and what doesn't get told. The film, a decade prior to Me Before You that dealt with suicide and disability was Million Dollar Baby. In the novella on which it was based, the boxer lived. In the movie, because it created dramatic tension and gave Clint Eastwood something to do, the character died, right? And so I think the question is not so much that you've got one character dying, you've got disabled characters dying over and over again. And that's the narrative that you hear. You don't see anything else. I think that's where the concern is.
And there can be good stories where that happens. There can be entertaining appearances of it, but the risk is that may be the only way people are engaged around this issue. And when you acquire a disability, acquiring also the stereotypes that go with it. And that's true for any of the stereotypes that may come out. If you think that you should have a superpower and clearly you don't, then it's going to be depressing. If you think that you cannot have a job, that your whole life is to be helped or to help someone else achieve their potential, that's not a life. And it does make life more difficult when you go for a job. And the only people who have seen films, or the only people around, only experience around disability is someone who's read a book or seen a film where the person is just completely helpless. You're not going to get that job. But more than that, it's not the truth of life. And one of the things that you need to do in any creative form is to be authentic. And sometimes the authentic story is somebody would kill themselves. I'm just saying we need a range. And I appreciate the comment.
One other thing, we don't hire doctors to play the roles of doctors or hire lawyers to play the role of lawyers. And if there was ever a movie made about me, I wouldn't want someone with a disability to play the role. I'd want Brad Pitt, someone like that. Someone more realistic.
But we're not going to have
We're
not going to have our disabled Brad Pitts though until people get opportunities.
Yes.
And that's the situation is with every non-disabled actor that plays a disabled character is taking a job away from a disabled actor.
Let's see, other presentations. Heal Thyself. I thought from the title Heal Thyself, it'd be about using this herbal medicine or
right. I was going to take
meditation.
Something. I was going to drink something and all of a sudden be able to walk.
Yeah.
I was there. I wanted to heal myself.
Right.
Heal.
Yeah.
So, but it's not quite what it was about.
No, they talked about, let's say you've got a certain condition, maybe you could film it or take pictures of it, send it to your doctor. The doctor could diagnose it. And then recommend a certain therapy for you or whatever, but
it's still a very good concept.
Yeah,
it makes life a lot easier for people, as we talked about earlier in the show. If you can't get out of bed, or when you are sick, the last thing you want to do is try to get in your wheelchair, arrange transportation, and go across town to get to your doctor.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. But then I posed this question.
When I ask my doctor's office if I can send them a picture, they say, oh no, we can't accept that because of HIPAA regulations. How do you get around that?
Whenever you talk about the HIPAA laws, the privacy of a person's patient's information, they don't want to go out on the internet. And,
that's the hurdle they're going to have to get across, for sure.
So, but maybe one of these days, because it would save so much hassle, but I'm sure there's a liability issue.
Well, I'm sure they'll get around it. I mean, it's the same thing that we deal with credit cards all the time. You've got to keep your credit card number encrypted so that you can order something online. So they'll have to encrypt our pictures of our sores on our butts. So that they're not displayed all over the internet.
Yeah, it can be done. So it's just getting all the medical community to agree to do that.
Coming to a computer near you.
But I guess they make more money if you come into the office. So I don't know.
We'll see.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
So, Gene, you went to the end of disability, and obviously it wasn't the end right now.
No.
You're still using your chair.
I'm still using my chair, yeah.
All right. So what did they talk about?
Well, they talked about implants for the brain to cure paralysis, and we've been hearing about these implants for years. In fact, I became disabled in '72, and they were doing experiments then. They put electrodes in my arm. So that was, 45 years ago. All these things they're doing to try to get people healed, they're making more steps in research. But they talk about it as a cure, a new hope, and I think that's just wrong. I mean, particularly for the families out there. They get a family member in the hospital, and they see things on the news, these implants and cure for paralysis. It's just more research. So it's interesting from a researcher's point of view, but to say that it might be a cure, I think is just wrong. But then again, that's my opinion. But there was an opinion from another person in the audience, the same person that did inclusive design, and here's what she said.
And I think it's really cool that I'm here in a room full of people who are passionate about disability. I think it's wonderful that I'm at an event that is deeply passionate about diversity. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why you seek to end disability, to take away our diversity. We are no longer just patients. We are a community, we are a culture, and I would not eliminate my disability in the same way that I would not eliminate my sexuality. And I want to say to Rizai that you can't just look at us as patients as things to be eliminated. And to Chelsea, what I want to say to you is for every dollar and every partnership you get, you actually take away from the disability community and take away our funding and our ability to do for ourselves. And to Miles, I think you're a fantastic journalist, and I wish that you would have thought more deeply about what you were going to call this event, because I'm quite literally trembling at every decision you have made this entire path. What I argue is that you fix things, you don't fix people. Fixing phantom pain is one thing, but eliminating your diversity is something else entirely, and I don't think that that is an appropriate narrative for an empowered disability community.
So let me answer that. I appreciate your comments, and it's very important comments. So every day I walk, I'm a neurosurgeon, so I see a lot of patients coming to me with have traumatic brain injuries, chronic pain, they've been devastated by stroke, they have a lot of issues, and they come to us saying, please help us function better. Our goal is here to help people who have physical disabilities, cognitive, behavioral, use technology to help them. So our number one goal is to help individuals. And patients ask us for help, and we're here to help them.
So you could tell she was a bit upset.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and it's almost like saying having disability is wrong, so you shouldn't, you should be cured, you should want to be cured, and I don't know. They could have presented it better, I suppose. Certainly had a different title.
Well, it's definitely a subject that gets people's emotions riled up. So obviously, that's what you've got here.
Then the last presentation we went to was called Brain Wearables, and it's a little device like a headphone you wear, but it didn't have a microphone on, just like a little headset you wear. And it picked up your brain waves, and it interprets your brain waves to activate motors or whatever. So if I was wearing one, I could move my wheelchair. I could think, move chair, and the chair would move. So there's no implants with those. And it's, I wouldn't say 100% safe to use today, but wow, they made such tremendous progress in these, and that I could see as something that would be. It's not trying to cure the muscles. It's not trying to get the muscles to move themselves, but to use brain waves to activate other motors and such. And that I can see as a real possibility of being helpful.
So you're convinced that things are going to be hard to move your muscles, but when it comes to reading your mind, the computer can get it done.
I might fry that computer when it tries to read my mind. But anyway, it's always South by is always an awesome event to go to, and
it is just so many great people. Whether you agree or disagree with them, there's a lot of people there that have done a lot of research, a lot of brain power. And if they put those things on their heads, who knows what they could control.
Yeah.
But definitely a lot of people that we meet. It's a great place to network. If you haven't been to South by Southwest, what are you waiting on? You really should go.
Yep. So until then, until the next South by Southwest, folks,
or until the next show.
Till the next show. Folks, be awesome out there. Be the most awesome you can. And who knows, maybe you'll end up on this show too. Until then, I'm Gene.
And I'm Dave.
And we're the
Gene and Dave Show.
So long.